we're given a function y equals f of x sketched out here, and we're asked to sketch the graph of each of these following functions and list the transformations that relate the graphs of these to our original graph. And I actually want to start by listing the transformations. And so we'll start with this one. And I see y equals f of 1/2 x minus 1 plus 3. So looking through right away, I see 3 transformations we'll have to deal with. Always wanting to remember to do them in the right order. So I'm going to start with any horizontal shifting left or right. And with that minus 1 in there, I know I'm going to have a shift to the right. In fact, I'm going to have a shift initially to the right 1 unit. Next up, I want to do any stretching or shrinking. With this 1/2 in front of the x, I know that there is going to be a horizontal stretch or shrink, and because that number's less than 1, between 0 and 1, I know that there's actually a horizontal stretch by a factor of 2. And I'm just going to say by 2 because I've run out of room, but we know that's by a factor of 2. And then finally, there's a shift up 3 with that plus 3. All right, there are my 3 transformations. I'm going to draw individual pictures for this one, relating, starting with this graph and relating it to this one. So I'm going to start off by shifting everything to the right 1 unit. So I'm going to take all of these x values and just move all the points over 1. So I'm really adding 1 to the x value. Scooting everything over 1 unit to the right. All right, and now I have a horizontal stretch by a factor of 2. To do that, I'm going to think about these new points and their x-coordinate and multiply them all by 2. So this one at minus 1 gets stretched to minus 2. This one at 0 is going to stay right there at 0. X-coordinates 1 times 2 is 2. The x-coordinates 2 times 2 is 4. And then finally, this x-coordinate is 3. And multiplied by 2, that's at 6. So 4, 5, 6. And there's my function with 2 transformations applied to it. One more to go. I need to shift everything up 3 units. All right, so I'm going to take these green points and move everything up 3, really thinking about adding 3 to all the y values. Just adding 3 to all these y values. And there's our final transformed graph. All right, and there we have it. Right 1, horizontal stretch by a factor of 2, and then up 3. Let's write our transformations down for that we're going to do on this one, and then we'll sketch its graph. Probably going to start over again over here and erase everything and put my blue function back on there. But for now, let's just list the transformations. I'd want to start with any horizontal shifts left or right, and then do any stretching or shrinking in either the vertical or horizontal directions. Then we do reflecting, and then finally those vertical shifts up or down. Well, there is no horizontal shift left or right. I don't see anything on the inside that looks like an x minus c. There is no stretching or shrinking. I don't have a number in front of the x or a number in front of the y other than a 1 or minus 1, of course. And so I'm going to start with the reflections. Replacing x with minus x, well, that's a reflection over the y-axis. Putting that minus out front, that's a reflection over the x-axis. And then finally, there's a shift down 2 units. All right, so let's get our solution from the last one off the board, regraph our original function, and then we'll perform those transformations. All right, there was our original function y equals f of x. And we're going to start with a reflection over the y-axis. So every point that's over here comes over there, really thinking about switching the sign on all the x-coordinates. 0 stays at 0. And now I see that nice, happy, reflected graph. All right, now I have to reflect that graph over the x-axis. So this time I'm going to change all the signs of the y-coordinates. All right, and there's my graph. I didn't use a dotted line that time. I'd like to tell you I did that on purpose just to reinforce things. Honestly, I forgot, but that's my middle step, and now I'm supposed to shift everything down 2 units. And this red copy is my final graph. Reflected over the y-axis, reflected over the y-axis, reflected over the x-axis, and finally shifted down 2 units. There's our final answer.